Every nation's government functions like a complex machine with countless moving parts that must work together to serve its people. For this machine to operate effectively and justly, it requires a clear set of instructions, a blueprint that guides its every action. In Zimbabwe, this foundational blueprint is found within its constitution, specifically in Section 194. This section lays out the fundamental values and principles that must govern public administration. It is not merely a list of suggestions. It is a binding mandate that dictates how every public official, from the highest minister to the local clerk, must conduct themselves. These principles are the moral and operational compass for the state, designed to ensure that the government works for the people, not for itself. They establish a standard against which all public actions can be measured. The importance of these constitutional principles cannot be overstated. They are the essential ingredients for creating a system of good governance, which is the cornerstone of a stable, prosperous, and democratic society. When public administration is guided by values like integrity, fairness, and accountability, it builds trust between the government and its citizens. This trust is crucial for social cohesion and voluntary compliance with laws and regulations. The principles outlined in Section 194 aim to transform the relationship between the state and the people from one of command and control to one of service and partnership. They are intended to create a public service that is responsive to the needs of the population, efficient in its use of resources, and dedicated to the development of the nation as a whole. These values are designed to have a direct and tangible impact on the daily lives of every Zimbabwean. When a government official acts with professionalism, a citizen receives respectful and timely service. When resources are used efficiently, more schools and clinics can be built. When public administration is transparent, people can see how their tax money is being spent and hold officials accountable for their decisions. In essence, these principles are meant to ensure that the government's power is used for the public good. They are a promise to the people that the state will be a reliable steward of their interests and a facilitator of their aspirations, creating an environment where every individual has a fair opportunity to thrive. This essay will unpack the key principles enshrined in Section 194 of the Zimbabwean Constitution. We will explore each value in detail, explaining its meaning and its significance for good governance. We will examine how these principles are intended to shape the daily interactions between the government and the people it serves. Furthermore, we will discuss the practical challenges that can hinder the implementation of these ideals and compare them with international best practices in public administration. Ultimately, we will demonstrate how a committed adherence to these constitutional values is the most promising path toward building a fair, effective, and trustworthy government that truly serves the interests of all Zimbabweans, today and for generations to come. At the very heart of Zimbabwe's constitutional framework for public administration lies the principle of high standards of professional ethics. This principle demands that public officials conduct themselves with integrity, honesty, and a profound sense of duty. It means that decisions must be made based on objective criteria and the public interest, rather than personal gain, favoritism, or political affiliation. Professional ethics requires civil servants to be incorruptible, avoiding bribery and the misuse of state resources for private benefit. It is about fostering a culture where public service is seen as a public trust, a noble calling dedicated to the welfare of the nation. This commitment to ethical conduct is the bedrock upon which all other principles of good governance are built, as without it, public confidence quickly erodes. The importance of this principle for the public is immense, as it directly combats corruption, one of the most destructive forces in any society. When officials adhere to high ethical standards, citizens can trust that they will be treated fairly and that government services will be delivered without the need for illicit payments or connections. This fosters an environment of predictability and justice, where rules apply equally to everyone. For example, a business owner can expect to receive a license based on meeting the legal requirements, not on who they know. A citizen seeking a passport can be confident that the process will be straightforward and transparent. Upholding professional ethics ensures that public resources are used for their intended purpose, building roads, funding hospitals, and supporting education, rather than being diverted into private pockets. In daily government work, this principle translates into concrete actions and behaviors. It looks like a procurement officer selecting a contractor based on the best value for money, not because of a family connection. It looks like a police officer enforcing the law impartially, without fear or favor. It looks like a ministry official diligently managing their budget to maximize public benefit and providing accurate reports on expenditures. It also involves creating and enforcing clear codes of conduct, providing regular ethics training for all employees, and establishing robust mechanisms for reporting and investigating misconduct. A professional public service is one where employees are proud of their work and understand that their primary loyalty is to the Constitution and the people of Zimbabwe. Adherence to high ethical standards is a universal hallmark of effective and democratic governance. It aligns perfectly with international conventions like the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which emphasizes integrity, accountability, and transparency in public affairs. Countries with strong professional bureaucracies, such as Singapore and New Zealand, consistently demonstrate that a focus on ethics leads to greater economic prosperity and higher levels of public satisfaction. By embedding this principle deep within its administrative culture, Zimbabwe can build a government that is not only effective, but also honorable. It is the essential first step in creating a state apparatus that earns and retains the respect and trust of its citizens. The Zimbabwean constitution mandates that public administration must be efficient, economical, and effective in its use of resources. This principle is fundamentally about delivering the best possible outcomes for the people with the least amount of waste. Efficiency means performing tasks in a timely and competent manner, avoiding unnecessary delays and bureaucratic red tape that can frustrate citizens and stifle progress. Being economical means managing public funds and assets prudently, ensuring that every dollar of taxpayer money is spent wisely to achieve maximum impact. Effectiveness is the ultimate goal, ensuring that government programs and services actually achieve their intended objectives, whether it is improving literacy rates, reducing infant mortality, or boosting agricultural productivity. These three elements work together to ensure the government is a good steward of the nation's wealth. For the public, the impact of an efficient and development-oriented government is profound and life-changing. It means that when you apply for a national identity document, you receive it within a reasonable time frame. It means that the roads you travel on are well maintained, the water from your tap is clean, and the electricity supply is reliable. A focus on development ensures that the government is not just maintaining the status quo, but is actively working to improve the quality of life for all citizens. This involves long-term planning, investing in critical infrastructure like schools and hospitals, and creating policies that foster economic growth and job creation. It is about building a better future and ensuring that the nation's resources are harnessed for the collective good of this generation and the next. In practice, this principle should be visible in every aspect of government operations. It looks like a government department using modern technology to streamline processes, allowing citizens to apply for services online instead of waiting in long queues. It looks like a ministry conducting rigorous cost-benefit analyses before embarking on a major infrastructure project to ensure it is viable and necessary. It also means establishing clear performance indicators for all public entities and regularly monitoring and evaluating their progress towards set goals. A development-oriented public service is one that is constantly learning and adapting, seeking innovative solutions to complex national challenges, and prioritizing actions that will have the greatest positive impact on society. This focus on efficiency and development mirrors the best practices of successful governments worldwide. The principles of new public management, which have influenced reforms in countries like the United Kingdom and Australia, emphasize performance measurement, cost-effectiveness, and a customer-centric approach to service delivery. Similarly, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals provide a global framework for development that Zimbabwe's public administration can align with. By prioritizing the efficient use of resources and maintaining a sharp focus on national development, Zimbabwe's government can accelerate its progress towards becoming a prosperous and resilient nation, capable of meeting the diverse needs of its people in an ever-changing world. A cornerstone of Zimbabwe's constitutional vision for public administration is the principle of fairness and impartiality. This means that public services must be provided to all citizens without bias, prejudice, or favoritism. Every person, regardless of their political affiliation, ethnic background, gender, or social standing must be treated equally and justly by the state. This principle forbids discrimination and requires public officials to make decisions based on established rules and objective criteria. It ensures that the distribution of public goods, such as land, food aid, or business licenses, is equitable and based on need or merit, not on personal connections or political loyalty. Fairness is the practical application of the constitutional promise that all citizens are equal before the law. Closely linked to fairness is the principle of public participation in the policy-making process. The Constitution requires that the government actively involve the people in the formulation of policies and decisions that affect them. This is not a passive requirement. It obligates public officials to create meaningful opportunities for citizens to voice their opinions, share their experiences, and contribute their ideas. This can be done through public hearings, community meetings, consultative workshops, and accessible platforms for submitting feedback. By listening to the people, the government can create policies that are more relevant, effective, and responsive to the actual needs and priorities of the communities they are meant to serve. It transforms governance from a top-down exercise into a collaborative partnership. In daily government work, these principles manifest in clear and transparent processes. A fair administration is one where the criteria for accessing a government program, like an agricultural subsidy, are publicly available and consistently applied to all applicants. It is one where a citizen who files a complaint against a public official can expect a thorough and impartial investigation. Public participation looks like a local council holding open meetings to discuss the annual budget, allowing residents to have a say in how their rates are spent. It looks like a government ministry publishing a draft policy online and inviting public comment before it is finalized. These practices empower citizens and make them active participants in their own governance. These principles of fairness and participation are fundamental tenets of modern democracy and are recognized as international best standards. Democratic theory posits that government legitimacy is derived from the consent of the governed, and this consent is strengthened when people feel they are treated fairly and have a voice in decision-making. International development organizations like the World Bank and the United Nations Development Program strongly advocate for participatory governance as a key driver of sustainable development and social inclusion. By embedding these values into its administrative culture, Zimbabwe can deepen its democratic roots, reduce social tensions, and build a government that is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people. Transparency is a fundamental principle in Zimbabwe's constitution, requiring that the workings of government be open to public scrutiny. It means that the people have a right to access timely and accurate information about the decisions and actions of public officials. Now, this isn't about revealing sensitive national security secrets, but rather about making routine government operations visible. This includes publishing government budgets, audit reports, public contracts, and the minutes of official meetings. Transparency demystifies governance, allowing citizens to understand how their government is functioning, what it is spending their money on, and why certain policies have been adopted. It acts as a powerful disinfectant against corruption and mismanagement, since actions taken in the open are more likely to be honest and well-considered. Accountability is the natural consequence of transparency. It's the principle that public officials are answerable for their actions and decisions. This means there must be clear mechanisms through which the government reports to the people and to the institutions like Parliament that represent them. Accountability ensures that when things go wrong, someone is held responsible. This could involve disciplinary action for a civil servant who violates a code of conduct, or a minister being required to explain a policy failure before a parliamentary committee. Without accountability, rules and principles are, well, pretty much meaningless. It is the enforcement mechanism that gives the entire framework of good governance its teeth, ensuring that public power is exercised responsibly. In the day-to-day operations of government, transparency and accountability are interwoven. Transparency is demonstrated when a government agency proactively publishes its annual performance report on its website for anyone to read. It's seen when a citizen files a request for information under access to information laws and receives a prompt and complete response. Accountability is at work when the Auditor General's office conducts independent audits of all government departments and makes its findings public, highlighting any financial irregularities. It's also present when citizens can use those audit reports to peacefully protest or petition their elected representatives to demand corrective action. Together, these principles create a continuous feedback loop between the government and the governed. These pillars of trust are universally recognized as essential for democratic and effective public administration. The Open Government Partnership, a global initiative that Zimbabwe could aspire to join, promotes transparency, accountability, and citizen participation as core values. Countries that rank highly on global governance indices, such as those in Scandinavia, have strong legal frameworks for access to information and robust independent oversight bodies that hold government accountable. By fully embracing transparency and accountability, Zimbabwe can build a resilient system of governance where public officials are constantly reminded that they serve at the pleasure of the people and are ultimately answerable to them for every action they take. Section 6. Human Resources. Building a capable and representative civil service. The Constitution of Zimbabwe places significant emphasis on sound human resource management practices within the public sector. A key principle is that public administration must be based on merit, ensuring that recruitment and promotion are determined by ability, objectivity, and impartiality. This means, really, that the best qualified candidate should be hired for a job regardless of their political connections, family ties, or ethnic origin. A merit-based system is crucial for building a competent and professional civil service capable of tackling the complex challenges facing the nation. It ensures that the government is staffed by skilled individuals who can perform their duties effectively, leading to better service delivery and more informed policymaking for the benefit of all. Alongside merit, the Constitution mandates that the public service must be broadly representative of the diverse peoples of Zimbabwe. This principle acknowledges the importance of inclusivity and seeks to ensure that the composition of the civil service reflects the nation's regional and community diversity. While this may seem to conflict with the merit principle, the two are intended to be complementary. The goal is to create a system where a talented and qualified pool of candidates is drawn from all segments of society, ensuring that no group is marginalized or excluded from participating in the governance of their country. A representative bureaucracy is more likely to understand and be sensitive to the diverse needs and perspectives of the entire population, thereby enhancing its legitimacy and effectiveness. In practice, implementing these principles requires a robust and transparent human resource framework. This looks like the Civil Service Commission advertising all job vacancies widely and using standardized, objective testing and interview procedures to select candidates. It means establishing clear career paths and performance appraisal systems that reward hard work and competence, rather than loyalty or seniority alone. To achieve representation, it involves proactive outreach to underrepresented communities to encourage applications, while still ensuring that all appointments are made based on the required qualifications. It is about creating a level playing field where every Zimbabwean with the requisite skills and dedication has a fair chance to serve their country. These principles of merit and representation are consistent with international best practices for modern public service management. The OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, recommends that its member countries adopt merit-based systems to enhance government efficiency and combat patronage. At the same time, many democratic nations, including Canada and South Africa, have implemented policies to promote diversity and inclusion within their public services to ensure they are reflective of the societies they serve. By balancing the pursuit of excellence with the imperative of inclusion, Zimbabwe can cultivate a public service that is not only highly capable, but also deeply connected to and trusted by all the communities it is meant to serve. Section 7. Intergovernmental Cooperation, a unified approach to governance. Zimbabwe's constitution outlines a crucial principle for effective governance: the need for close cooperation among all levels of government. The country has a devolved structure, with national, provincial, and local tiers of authority. The principle of cooperative government requires these different spheres to work together in a spirit of partnership and mutual respect, rather than in competition or isolation. It mandates that they coordinate their actions, consult on matters of common interest, and assist and support one another to achieve national goals. This unified approach is essential for ensuring that policies are implemented coherently across the country and that public services are delivered seamlessly to citizens regardless of where they live. The importance of this principle for the public is immense, as it prevents the confusion and inefficiency that can arise from fragmented governance. When national ministries, provincial councils, and local authorities cooperate, they can pool their resources, share information, and avoid duplicating efforts. For citizens, this means a more logical and responsive government. For example, a national health policy to combat malaria can be more effectively implemented when the national ministry provides the funding and technical guidance. Provincial councils coordinate the logistics, and local clinics are responsible for distribution and community education. This synergy ensures that government action is greater than the sum of its parts, leading to better outcomes for everyone. In the daily work of government, this principle translates into regular communication and joint planning. It looks like the Minister of Transport meeting with mayors from major cities to develop an integrated urban transport plan. It is visible when a national agency responsible for water resources works closely with a rural district council to plan the construction of a new dam that will serve local irrigation needs. This cooperation is formalized through intergovernmental forums and agreements that establish clear roles and responsibilities. It requires a mindset shift from protecting one's institutional turf to focusing on the shared objective of serving the public good. It is about recognizing that complex challenges like climate change or economic development require a coordinated, multi-level response. This model of cooperative government is a feature of many successful federal and devolved states around the world, such as Germany and South Africa. These countries have established constitutional and legislative frameworks to manage intergovernmental relations, recognizing that it is key to national unity and effective administration. These frameworks promote negotiation and consensus building as the primary means of resolving disputes between different spheres of government. By fostering a culture of collaboration and shared responsibility, Zimbabwe can ensure that its entire state apparatus is aligned and working in harmony. This unity of purpose is vital for tackling the nation's challenges and delivering on the promise of development for all its citizens. The Section 8. Challenges in upholding constitutional values. While the principles outlined in Section 194 of Zimbabwe's constitution provide an admirable blueprint for good governance, translating these ideals into consistent practice is fraught with significant challenges. Perhaps the most pervasive obstacle is the persistence of a culture of patronage and corruption. When decisions about hiring, promotions, and the awarding of contracts are influenced by political loyalty or personal connections rather than merit and fairness, the very foundation of ethical public administration is undermined. This can lead to the appointment of unqualified individuals to key positions, resulting in inefficiency and poor service delivery. Corruption diverts scarce public resources away from essential services like healthcare and education, directly harming the public and eroding their trust in government institutions. Another major challenge is the chronic lack of resources, both financial and human. Many government departments operate on shoestring budgets, making it difficult to invest in the training, technology, and infrastructure needed for an efficient and modern public service. Low salaries for civil servants can demotivate staff and make them more susceptible to corruption simply to make ends meet. A lack of resources also hinders the government's ability to be responsive and development-oriented. Without adequate funding, ambitious plans for building new schools, clinics, or roads remain on paper, and the government struggles to meet the ever-growing needs of the population, leading to public frustration and disillusionment. Political polarization and the lack of a strong political will to enforce these constitutional principles present another formidable hurdle. Good governance requires a long-term commitment that transcends partisan politics. However, when the political environment is highly charged, there can be a tendency to view the civil service as a tool for political ends, rather than as an impartial institution serving the entire nation. This can lead to interference in administrative processes and resistance to transparency and accountability measures that might expose politically inconvenient truths. Without a sustained commitment from the highest levels of leadership to champion and defend these values, efforts to reform the public sector can easily falter. Finally, there is the challenge of institutional capacity and culture. Decades of established practices, both good and bad, create a certain inertia that can be difficult to change. shifting from a top-down, opaque style of administration to one that is participatory, transparent, and citizen-centric, requires a profound cultural transformation. This involves not only new laws and regulations, but also continuous training, changes in mindset, and the establishment of strong, independent oversight bodies like the Human Rights Commission and the Auditor General's Office. Overcoming these deep-seated challenges requires a concerted and sustained effort from all stakeholders, government, civil society, and the public, to demand and build a culture of constitutionalism. Section 9. Conclusion. Forging a path towards a people-centric government. The values and principles enshrined in Section 194 of the Constitution are more than just a legal text. They are Zimbabwe's solemn promise to its people. They represent a clear and powerful vision for a public administration that is ethical, efficient, fair, and accountable. These principles, from the demand for professionalism and transparency to the emphasis on development and public participation, collectively form the blueprint for a government that places the citizen at the center of its operations. They are aligned with the highest international standards of democratic governance and provide a robust framework for building a state that is both a servant and a partner to its people, working tirelessly to improve their quality of life and secure their future. The journey to fully realize this constitutional vision is undoubtedly challenging, marked by obstacles such as corruption, resource constraints, and political headwinds. However, these challenges do not diminish the importance of the principles. Rather, they underscore the urgent need to pursue them with greater determination. Upholding these values is not an abstract exercise, but a practical necessity for national progress. An ethical government builds investor confidence, an efficient government accelerates development, a fair government fosters social cohesion, and a transparent government earns the enduring trust of its citizens. Each principle, when put into action, contributes to a virtuous cycle of good governance and sustainable development. The responsibility for turning these principles into a lived reality does not rest with public officials alone. It is a shared national project that requires the active engagement of all Zimbabweans. Citizens have a role to play in demanding transparency, participating in policymaking, and holding their leaders accountable. Civil society organizations are crucial for monitoring government performance and advocating for reform. Parliament has a constitutional duty to provide rigorous oversight, and independent commissions must be empowered to enforce the rules without fear or favor. It is through this collective effort that the culture of public administration can be transformed to reflect the nation's highest ideals. Ultimately, the faithful implementation of the principles of public administration is the most viable path toward building a just, prosperous, and democratic Zimbabwe. It is the key to unlocking the nation's immense potential and ensuring that the government acts as a catalyst for positive change. By consistently measuring the actions of the state against this constitutional yardstick, Zimbabwe can steadily move towards a future where the government is not a source of frustration, but a source of pride. A government that is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is the profound and inspiring promise of Zimbabwe's constitution, a promise that every generation has a duty to uphold.